So, in my previous video, I asserted that our Ukrainian armed forces destroyed Russian A50 plane and damaged Il-22M. Russians were telling everybody that it was done by their own morons from their own air defense, as there are still some people who listen to the obvious and serial liars from Russian side. Some were asking for evidence that it was done by our people, by Ukrainians, and others were saying that we will never know who did that, and even one deranged individual dared to write that he reported me for spreading misinformation. So, let's talk about evidence. The most vivid example is when last May our Patriot system shot down 5 helicopters and 2 planes in Bryansk region of Russia. And there also was immediately a version floated by Russians that it was done by their own air defense. And our guys at that time, they said nothing, but then a bit later Patriot system was shown on video with kill marks. You can see it here, with kill marks on the side of the vehicle, and we could clearly see 5 aircraft, and the date it is 13th of May 2023. So, you know, it was an evidence that it was actually our Patriot system who destroyed them. Maybe we will have such evidence eventually, maybe in some other form, but the most reliable evidence that we can have is the behavior of Russians. If it was done by their air defense, by their own surface-to-air missiles, it means that it was a fluke. It was one-off event, and people responsible for it were punished, and there will be no need to alter their patrol routes. They will be still putting their A50 planes closer to the northwestern side of the Azov Sea. But if it was done by Ukrainian air defense, and you can see, for example, here it is the range of the Patriot. So if Patriot was put somewhere close to front line, this area is in range of the Patriot. And in order for Russians to avoid this threat, they have to be further away from the front line. And so, if they were shot down by our missiles, then Russians have to change their route and move further east or southeast to put more space between their aircraft and possible threats. And they did change the route. They pulled back their A50 planes about 150 to 200 kilometers to the southeast. So now they're patrolling here, in this area, not in this area as they did previously. And tell you what, that version, that A50 was shot down by their own air defense, was aimed at gullible people both in Russia and in the West, because Russians can't admit that their Wunderwaffe was defeated by Ukrainians. And this version was never aimed at Russian air crews, because some people were suggesting this, because it is very difficult to hide the truth from air crews. They will know, and now they see that they patrolling 150 to 200 kilometers further from front line in order not to get in range of something that shot down A50 and damaged Il-22 planes. And then another question: why Russians were patrolling closer to the Azov Sea? Because when they say about the range of A50, they lie. They're saying that it can see everything at the range of 400 kilometers and even can see ground targets at the range of 300 kilometers. But if it was true, they would need only 3 A50 planes to cover most of the territory of Ukraine, as you can see from this example here. So they would need to have one above Crimea, one in Belarus, and one in Kursk, and they will cover most of the territory of Ukraine, save maybe some most western part. But you can go to the official site of the Russian Ministry of Defense and see the some characteristics of this A50 system. And it is said that they can see enemy fighters only from the range of 220 to 140 kilometers, and probably even less, because there is nothing said about the altitude of these enemy fighters, and if they can be seen among ground clutter if they fly at low altitude. And so, if they see only at 240 kilometers, then it is understandable why they were hugging the northern part of Azov Sea, and how detrimental this pullback for 150 20 kilometers away from front line will be, because essentially the Russians thought, by putting their planes here, they thought to establish a continuous. You see here, this line is the front line. Continuous. They thought to establish continuous and guaranteed radar field over its forces throughout the entire southern zone. Now, after moving it 200 kilometers away, a guaranteed dense radar field over Russian forces throughout the entire southern operation zone, what happened to it? That's right, it will disappear, and it will acquire such pleasant, in inverted comma, characteristic as localized and limited in altitude. And the range of guaranteed enemy detection of air targets such as aircraft or cruise missiles or ground targets will shift where? That's right, down to hell. And I don't need to explain you how this will affect the real capabilities not only of our Air Force, but also of all Ukrainian armed forces. So, thank you for watching this video. Have a nice day and Slava Ukraini!